Welcome to another edition of Thunder and Lightning. I am your host, Dan. Standing next to me isn't Nikki Nick, but I will make do. I have my good friend, Football Grump. Grump, what's going on? Happy Monday.
What's up, man? Did you see the eclipse today? I have my cool guy glasses right here.
Oh, you got your cool guy glasses? I left my
Yeah.
cool guy glasses downstairs.
It's amazing.
Oh,
You
look
can
at
see
you.
absolutely nothing with these things on.
Yeah, I didn't really care, and then everybody in the office was like, oh my god, you gotta come see it. So I was like, all right, cool. And
It's an
I
excuse
missed
to walk away from your desk.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, sure, no problem. I'll walk the 2 feet over and, oh, this is so cool. Awesome. Kind of thing. But I had to boo my fake, oh, cool. All right, sweet. All right, whatever. So thank you once again for coming on. I really appreciate you coming and co-hosting with me tonight.
No way, man. Happy to be here.
I thought it was an appropriate episode for you to come on because you are a bigger draft guy than I am. I do love the draft, don't get me wrong, but with me, it's like, all right, football season's over. All right, it's basketball season. All right, it's hockey season. All right, it's baseball season coming up. I do like the other aspects of the draft. I do watch college a lot, but you go into the nitty gritty on finding the diamonds in the rough per se, or this guy doesn't have good lift on the throw or whatever, something along those lines, I should say. So before we start, give us some detail what your podcast, Just Giants, and everything else before we get into it.
Oh yeah. Shit. So I have a Giants podcast as well, Just Giants podcast. You might know me and the Cranky Fan from that. That is during the off season, just once weekly. It's Tuesday mornings, audio and YouTube. And then during the season, it's Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings. We do a game review Tuesday morning and a game preview Friday morning. And then I have a Grump channel, which I was hoping to launch into like an all draft everything channel.
Right.
And I think you'll understand this. It's not about the work because I've been doing this for a long time. Like you said, like I'm really into the draft. It's my own favorite thing to do. It's just a lot of fun to watch these guys and kind of guess and project, and not just guess, like try to find the little things that, will make you think like, maybe he's not worth that pick, or maybe, you know what, get this guy in the 5th round because he's going to be worth it or something like that. I enjoy that. Doing that work is fine. Doing that work and then recording a video and editing a video and then putting in images or clips and then uploading it to YouTube, that's a lot of work. So I do have that other channel. I have stuff up there. It doesn't get updated as often as I'd like. But that is my the Football Grump channel on YouTube is my like draft little spot.
Definitely check it out. If you don't know, Grump does go to the Senior Bowl with the Talking Giants guys. He does go on. I'm not breaking any news. I don't know anything what the coverage is going to be this year. Obviously, you don't have to break it. But he's been on the Talking Giants draft cast the last couple of years, especially on day 2 and 3. So he's definitely a reliable guy. If you have not followed Grump, be sure to check him out. So it's a very weird draft with the Giants because we only have 6 picks. We have a lot of holes. There's tons of quarterbacks that are potentially there for us to either move up or, yes, thanks, West, UFL coverage elite as well. One of the few people that I know actually really cares, so we'll talk into that later.
We'll get into that later. I don't want to interrupt real important shit with that, but we can get into
anyway, this year's very weird. It's like, all right, we only have 6 picks. We are the 6th pick. We have so many holes. One of them being theoretically quarterback for the most part. Do we sell the farm per se to get a quarterback of our dreams and then completely hamper the rest of our draft this year and just take that chance, or find a way to let it fall to us at 6? So with that being said, you're Joe Shane, I'm Brian Dable, or vice versa. Like, what would be the first thing, like going through a fine fiber of the Giants? What would you say would be the biggest thing we definitely need going into 6 or dare I say trade up to get a quarterback? Like what would be if you're the general manager of the Giants? What would be the first thing Grump would do for our?
For the draft, the first thing anybody should be doing is assessing your roster and really figuring out how bad the holes are, how many holes there are, how many very soon, like how many potential holes are you going to have in 1 year? Because the idea that you're going to, no matter how many ways you slice it, the draft is still buckshot. You're not going to get 6 precision bombs, right? You're not going to fill 6 holes in the draft. You've got 6 holes. Once you start getting into round 3, that's when it really starts. You're looking at upside and projection. And what that means is, like, if you need a right tackle, getting one in the third, and I'm pulling a position out of the air. We can have an argument about position value all you want. But, like, let's just say right tackle is something that you need this year. You're at the 3rd round. You haven't addressed that yet. Chances are good, if you're going to address it there, like that position in the 3rd round, you want to be worried about the middle linebacker whose contract expires at the end of this year and you're not sure you want to pay it. You want to worry about the edge rusher. You know what I mean? Like, you need to start worrying about guys who are going to be useful in the future. So number one, when you go into the draft, in my opinion, you need to assess if you've got 3 picks in the first 3 rounds, you need to find 3 holes you can fill in 3 rounds. That's kind of it. And like I said, position value is a sliding scale. If running back is a serious need, you could probably address an adequate starting running back by the 4th round or something like that. But, for the first getting into the draft, you need to know that stuff draft night. You need to know just how serious the holes are and where they all are, and then where future holes are going to be. The Giants are in a unique position, like you said, picking 6th. They are just out of reach of what appears to be, I don't know if you want to split this, 3 or 4 top consensus guys. And then there seems to be a gap. We can argue, JJ McCarthy all we want. But the fact remains that there is at some camp of people that believes he's up there. Everybody seems to believe that that Michael Penix and Bo Nix are below that, right? So if it's the quarterback of your dreams, like let's just say Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen can shake hands and agree that Caleb Williams is the greatest quarterback they've ever seen, and they have the Bears are willing to part with that pick. Yes, give everything up and go get it, because quarterback is the most important position in sports. And if you both agree that he's the guy, then go get the guy. Remember, when Andrew Luck came into the league, Andrew Luck was a very, very good quarterback. The Indianapolis Colts, not only were they a bad team, they were a bad team that had a bunch of expiring contracts. They were a bad team that were getting worse that offseason, and they made the playoffs the next year simply because Andrew Luck was that good of a quarterback. They don't come around that often. So I'm of the opinion, if he really is the quarterback of your dreams and you guys believe that to its fullest, then there is no price too high. There is, price is unlikely. I don't think we'll ever see another Ricky Williams trade, but
no, and hopefully it's not the Giants doing it. But yeah, to your point, if he is your guy, you have to go and get him. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. It's just the fact, like we mentioned before, and Buddy mentions it, we only have 6 picks. So Shane's going to have to find some sort of magic of making ways to find a way to not only get his guy, but also keep picks that are able to help this team build, even though if we're going to get a quarterback, we are going to know, all right, there goes half of the positions that we probably going to want to need, because like I mentioned last week, we have a very shallow depth in corner and safety positions. So it's going to be really interesting to see. You can't really neglect that, but while at the same time, it's like, okay, we're going to get a quarterback, so it's not great, but I understand type of thing. So it's really that catch-22 with the Giants of, all right, if a quarterback's there that we know Daves is going to be able to handle and groom, and in a couple years, dare I say, knock on wood, is that guy that's going to take us to the playoffs every year. Obviously, it's going to be worth it. But it's really trying to decide which way you would prefer the Giants to go.
Well, you said it yourself earlier. There's holes everywhere. So if let's just say Caleb Williams is the only guy that they really like, if they can't get him, then just get better.
Right.
I mean, at that point, don't. I'm not saying JJ McCarthy is or isn't. What I'm saying is, if JJ McCarthy isn't, don't take him. You know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't matter what you or I think. Brian Dable is a master with quarterbacks. Joe Shane has been very, very good, in my opinion, at the draft, at the process, assessing talent and using contracts appropriately. I trust them. If he's not the guy, though, like, just don't force it. You know what I mean? Like, this team sucks. They like you said, like, I wouldn't even say depth is a problem at corner. They don't have a starter opposite DeAndre Banks, who is a second-year player. Like, that's not a comforting situation. They have a hole at starting safety next to Jason Pinnock, in my opinion. I wouldn't pencil Dane Belton in there. They have holes everywhere. I don't know about you. I'm not really solidified with the running back or tight end spot. I still think that there's an O-line spot that could be filled. There's certainly wide receiver spots that could be filled.
It's really funny when you and me are going through it now of like the holes on our team. Yes, as much as we would love to have a quarterback, really theoretically 9 out of 10 times, it would be a smarter idea for us to trade back and get more compensation with the picks and stockpile that for us to become a better team. So it's really that weird, it's that weird situation of, yes, the right thing is to trade back and stockpile picks, but also at the same time, hopefully we're never picking 6 for a very long time again. So it's just, I'm interested to see what the Giants actually think on draft night and see where the chips fall, because obviously we're going to find out a lot in the first 3 picks. And with it also being smokescreen season, it's really going to be interesting to see, is their guy there? It only takes one time to be like, all right, if we like Michael Penix, we like Michael Penix, let's go get him. If we like JJ, let's go get him, type of thing. Because like our old general manager in the 80s when Phil Simms got traded was like, hey, we're not drafting when he's projected to be in the top 20. I like him now. I'm like him now. So unfortunately, people are going to think it's a reach, but I like the guy. I'm going to go get the guy. So I'm going to, regardless on who we take, I'll probably to myself be skeptical, or in our group chat or our text messages, skeptical, but as long as he's our guy, he's our new quarterback, and I hope we win. That's how I feel with it. As long as we're winning games, I really don't care, like we saw this year with Tommy DeVito. Obviously, he wasn't great, but for someone coming on the practice squad, he just did enough, and that showed how good our coaching staff is. So with that being said, is like we have that untapped potential on getting a guy in the top 10. Let's see what these guys can do, and I trust them.
So it's really interesting what you think. Well, not really what you or I think, but the reality of what the league thinks of Michael Penix.
Right.
I never know what to think when, like, he has a good pro day, right? Like, you have a guy who's not considered to be, like, everyone seems to have a consensus that Michael Penix is somehow an early second round pick, but if you really need a quarterback and really want one, you should probably get him at the end of the first or something like that. Everyone seemed to agree with that. Then he has a pro day, which is a very scripted kind of practice where he performs very well. And all of a sudden, everyone's got like a remarkably high grade on him again. And it's really interesting to me because it happens so late in the process. Right. Like, I think by the time Michael Penix's pro day came around, we had a very clear pecking order of, I think the top 3 guys, people kind of quibble over that. Yeah. I'm sure that, but like, it was clear that the 3 guys were May, Williams, and Daniels. And then you had McCarthy. Then there was this huge drop and then there was Penix and then Nix. And now all of a sudden he has a pro day, and it's like very confusing because you had mentioned something interesting before, or you had phrased it kind of interestingly, was something like, do you go up and get your guy, or do you like trick people into letting your guy fall or something like that? And I think the really interesting thing is less so what the Giants think of JJ McCarthy. I think the interesting thing is what they think of Michael Penix, because you mentioned trading back as a possibility, and God, at 6, somebody very, very talented is going to be there. So someone will want to trade up for somebody if we were willing to back out of that spot. Let's just say you go back to, pick 11 or something like that. I think that's Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Theoretically, if JJ McCarthy is still on the board, and instead of the Giants taking him, you could probably get Minnesota to want to hop up with us. Hypothetically, I'm not like a big draft trade guy, but like it's clear that they need a quarterback and they're too far out for one. Then, that's a team with 2 first-round picks, and that seems like a fair trade. And if you're now picking again at 11 and then in the late 20s, I want to say 27 or something like that.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
You might be able to – it would be very, very slick if the Giants were to be picking like Michael Penix at 27 or something like that in a weird maneuver like that. I mean, just imagine that they could get somebody like Brock Bowers at 11 and Michael Penix at 27, and it's like a whole new ball game there. And remember, it's 23. I was close.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. You know what I mean? That's what I think is the interesting thing, is how they view Michael Penix.
Right.
And it's also interesting because same problem with Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones has a multitude of gripes people have with him, but one that's clear: injuries.
Right. So you actually saw Michael Penix up in close at the Senior Bowl. Obviously, it's like you mentioned before, it's a little bit more scripted with practice, and you got to see him up close and personal. What would be something with Michael Penix that would be like, all right, we've seen him on tape. He is obviously has the injuries. He is 24 years old. Put that all aside. The game tape, other than the national championship, is there. Like, after seeing him at the Senior Bowl practices and then watching him on tape and watching him actually play, do you think there's going to be like the community starting to like, all right, it's draft fatigue, but we also know Michael Penix is a legit quarterback, and he's finally slowly getting his due back into falling back into the first round? Like, it seems to be creeping in because you have the Raiders, you have the Vikings, like we mentioned. We even have the Broncos. Those are 3 teams that we've heard the last couple of weeks to months of, like, also in that second tier of QB searching. So obviously you've seen everybody else on tape. We all talked about the top 3 ad nauseum. With Michael Penix, like, I'm not saying particularly the Giants scenario. I'm just talking about the whole league. Do you see him falling into the top 15? Personally?
Yeah, I think so. I think that as a community, and I don't know if this is just amateurs like myself, because that's mostly who I talk to. I can't really call up Dane Brugler, but I do follow his stuff. But I think as a community, a lot of people undervalued Michael Penix. When I did my initial look through of quarterbacks, I had him ranked 4th. I thought that he was actually pretty damn good. Seeing him at the Senior Bowl, I could see some of the flaws. Throwing with anticipation, especially horizontally, seemed to be a problem. He couldn't quite place things. And so when I start thinking about crossing routes and man beaters and things like that at the NFL level, and the tight windows you're throwing now horizontally and less so vertically, though, you can't miss those. And that becomes a little bit of an issue. And that's something that I think he's got to work on. And then, I hadn't done a real full deep dive on his injury history when I did my initial thoughts, and it's legitimately scary. I think I could live with, trying to correct some accuracy and anticipation things and, all that stuff. I could work with that. The injury history, though, really scares the Christ out of me, because that dude, it's not so much the fact that he's gotten banged up and that they're like, not 100% ever again.
No,
You know what I mean?
they're
Like a
season
shaky knee
enders.
is a shaky knee, right? But I mean,
Right.
it also just it signals to me that you as a person are someone that gets hurt easily, and it's not your fault. I'm not saying that you're faking it or you're being a baby. A broken bone is a broken bone, but some people just get up and other people don't. And if at the college level you have 4 season-ending injuries, I'm worried about what happens to you at the NFL level, especially since this team can't block. So
Right. Oh, thanks for leading in. Chris actually did a super chat. Bros, do you think Christian Haynes out of UConn is still at play at number 47 despite signings Illumidar and Runyon Jr.? 100%. Like we've mentioned 100 times, it's the holy crap. Like, we need depth on the offensive line, just like how I mentioned before on the back end on the defense. Is these guys go down routinely. So if you can get a guy in the top 50 pick, obviously at 47, you have to go get that guy because he's really going to be that difference maker starting day one. And Illuminar and Runyon Jr., yet they're going to be hopefully starting for us. Well, they should be starting for us. Their contracts are contracts that are like, okay, if we do draft someone, they can swing and come off the bench if someone gets hurt, or in Luminor's situation, who wins the battle between Evan Neal and him to win the right tackle job. So, what about you, Grump? I say 100% because obviously, this particular guard is still an issue for us.
Oh no, you nailed it. Both of those signings were. Look, this is a position group that needs bodies. When Joe Shane came here, he drafted Josh Azudu and Marcus McKeithen in the same draft. You could tell that he was dealing with limited resources and trying to deal with 55 problems with only like 7 picks or something like that. Like, he was really doing his best. The depth that this team has had on the line, namely guys like Shane Lemieux. I mean, even Mark Glowinski is not even like really that good. But like, just in general, like Ben Bredesen seemed to be the only legitimate option that would go in there and not embarrass himself. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to like crap all over Josh Azudu when you talk about last year. He had to fill in at left tackle. I mean, that's a whole other. That's another mess.
Was wild.
But that speaks to the lack of depth on this team. They didn't think well enough of Matt Parrott, Matt Parrott might have even been hurt, I think.
Yes, he was coming back from the knee injury.
Yeah, so I mean, like, the fact remains that this team didn't have any depth whatsoever, and the depth that we did have, they were on expiring contracts. They weren't very good to begin with. So the Jermaine Illuminar and the John Runyon Jr. contracts, they could be starters. They're certainly going to compete to be starters, but they are. Illuminar might be on the upswing. You know what I mean? Right. He's fairly young. He's new to the game, so he's learned it later than everybody else. He could be on the upswing, but John Runyon that's a depth signing. Like, he shouldn't be your starter. So yeah, absolutely. I would say Christian Haynes or any other offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, is in play at 47. Christian Haynes is somebody I really like. He's a me kind of offensive lineman because he looks like he just wants to hurt people. I just don't know. He seems like a very power man kind of offensive lineman. And this is something I would probably defer to Bobby more than myself, Bobby Skinner. But I just don't know that he is the type of lineman that they are looking for. Personally, I think he's great, but I don't know. He might be a little bit more like phone boothy for them.
Long list of UConn offensive linemen if we do draft him, with William Beatty and Matt Pert, just to name a few. But yeah, no, definitely. Like, obviously, you got to go get. You have to obviously shore up the offensive line, and he seems to be the name that everybody, particularly Bobby. Obviously, we both trust Bobby a lot when it comes to offensive line. We're never gonna be at the level of Bobby of talking about it. So if Bobby likes this guy, you're gonna have to like side with Bobby on this one. Hold on. Let's see what Wes said. Could their type of lineman change now with Carmen instead of a war criminal Bobby Johnson? It obviously could. Obviously, every coach has their different styles. But
I
at
think
the
it
end
also the departure of Barkley might change that more than anything.
right.
I mean, like, you know what I mean? If they're not, I mean, I don't think that that's going to be the case, but I mean, they might have schemed the run blocking based around what he's better at.
Right. And I think as well, and a lot of people have mentioned this, obviously Saquon is an all-world talent, but it was more of a running game. What can Saquon do? Instead of having the focus being, all right, let's focus on what style of running game, which the running backs can fit into the style of a whole entire offense, opposed to what Saquon could bring. So as much as we love Saquon, potentially we can go back to the running back by committee and we can actually do what Dable likes to do in terms of, all right, this game is going to be more of a fast speed game. Let's go with the quicker guy, run outside, opposed to let's muck it up in the middle of the offensive line type of game. Let's kill the clock because we're facing, like, let's say the Eagles on a high-powered offense, and we have to kill a lot of clock. You know what I mean? I think we're going to be able to do that a little bit more this year because it's just, all right, our star player isn't our running back now. So it's just like we could get some of that old school Giants football of, all right, we're going to kill the clock. We're going to run the ball, play tight defense, and we're not going to be worried of like, all right, we're going to be going 3 and out because our running back can't get that extra yard instead of waiting for the perfect moment to hit the hole type of thing. And this is not me bashing Saquon. We've seen it 100 times, and it is what it is at this rate.
I would say one of the most important things is whether or not we like Barkley or the offensive approach when you had him or whatever. Mm-hmm. The fact remains that teams knew that Saquon Barkley was the best player on the offense, and they schemed around that. Yep. So the fact that he's not here, someone else is going to have to take that mantle. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's going to be the scary
I'm not
thing,
saying that they need to draft a dynamic running back. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
but I
am
saying they can't lose a big-time playmaker on offense and not replace him with another big-time playmaker. There has to be a new playmaker added on offense somewhere. Or else it's going to be a disaster, I think.
This is why you're a pro. All right. The difference approach is at 6 is getting that game-changing wide receiver. Neighbors from LSU, Roma Dunze from Washington. Dare I say, maybe there's some craziness of quarterbacks taken 1, 2, 3, and 4 in some way. Maserati Marv pops up to us at 6. That'd be crazy hypothetical. But regardless, there is a wide receiver to be taken theoretically, going by everybody's boards and seeing everything. Obviously, you don't really trust everything you read, but of course, it seems like this week seems to be the let's shit on neighbors week for draft fatigue on social media, which I don't buy.
That really is draft fatigue because I think you can make a solid argument that he might be better than Marvin Harrison. Like, right. I don't think that it's, it's actually kind of funny. I think that the quarterbacks and wide receivers have the same thing of there's a group of 3. And then I think 4 is like a little bit lower. Like it's like way down there. Who would you even say is wide receiver 4? Brian Thomas?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge drop between Odunze and him.
Right. And honestly, I think with like neighbors, I think if Marvin Harrison didn't have the name / the year he had the last couple years, and if it was strictly this season, I think neighbors would have nabbed him and found a way to like sneak up above Harrison.
I agree with that. I think I'm not comparing the players here, but I think the tape has a little bit more wow factor to it when you watch neighbors than you do Harrison.
I agree with that. But the thing with Harrison, I think the quarterback situation does hamper that a lot this year. He's not even on Ohio State this year. So.
Yeah, and Jaden Daniels is just kind of like shooting rockets, like 60 yards downfield for half of that tape.
Right. So So here was the other question I have, and I've been asking Nikki this weekly. If, let's say, obviously we're banking on it, if Neighbors, Adunze, and hell, even if Harrison, if it's some sort of craziness, is there, but the quarterback, all right, we don't particularly love him, is there, but it's like, do you force your hand and still go quarterback, or just go with a better player overall and try to build organically at wide receiver? See, that's the catch-22 that I've been having with myself for the last couple of months of like doing mock drafts and everything else like that. Where would you lean?
So
because you're like, yeah, I'm guaranteeing you having a star wide receiver,
yeah,
or the quarterback that we can eventually groom into being hopefully a stud quarterback to bring us to the promised land again.
Like, I don't know. I think this question is best served if it's like, if the hypothetical is for some reason, one way or another,
right.
New England likes JJ McCarthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that means that JJ McCarthy is picked at 3, which means one of the top 3 guys is the ones that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's May or it's Jaden Daniels. Personally, I'm a Jaden Daniels
guy.
You're
a big Daniels fan.
But that's me personally. I am not going to sit here and tell you that I know more about quarterback than anybody else. So I will listen to arguments about Drake May, but I have seen plenty of sailed passes and stuff like that, and that's really the difference for me between the two of them. I know that Jaden Daniels has his own flaws, believe me. So if you're asking me, Football Grump, on the clock at 6, if I'm choosing between Jaden Daniels and his receiver Malik Neighbors, my God, I mean, I'm going for Jaden Daniels.
Right.
But if you're asking me if it's Drake May or Malik Neighbors, I think the first thing I'm going to think is people are high on this guy, but I'm not. So my first thought is Neighbors. My second thought is, who wants this spot? Who wants this spot bad enough where maybe I don't have to move that far back and I can still get somebody like Odunze. You know what I mean? And I get more shit. So, I mean, probably the first thing I'm doing is picking up the phone, if I'm being honest. But I don't like the idea of grabbing a quarterback to grab a quarterback. To me, Malik Neighbors does more for your organization throughout the entirety of his rookie contract than Drake May does. You know what I mean? But that's just I don't think that there's a wrong answer to that question, though. You know,
I think my exception is May would be my cutoff, but I do get what you're saying. Of all right, we have May right there, but let's see what let's like we mentioned before, the Broncos, the Vikings, Raiders. Let's see what they offer, and if the offer's too good to pass up, you got to kind of do it, because we are in that situation of, all right, we have to actually build a team. As much as we all love to think it's fantasy football. And
let me throw a hypothetical at you here.
Yeah,
I know you're supposed to be asking the questions.
No. I love the free flowing, so ask away.
All right, so I've had this theory now, and this isn't going to happen. But if it did happen, I don't think I would care.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants went out and they traded and they got Brian Burns, right?
Right.
Now, they have some serious problems on the back end, but do you and I agree that next year is not a Super Bowl contending year for the Giants?
Correct.
Okay. I am totally okay with Joe Schoen spending every last bit of offseason resources he has now on the offense.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, does that bother you at all with like leaving glaring holes at corner and safety? Because to me, I haven't seen this team score consistent points in what feels like a decade.
Right.
And no matter with the way that the rules are changing for defense, like, it's clear that the offense has all the advantage. You can actually win games without a defense at all just by putting points on the board.
Right.
And
not only that, we're also going towards our old school way of doing things, of putting pressure up front with the front four, so you can have guys in the back and you could make magic from zone / like disguising where the guys are in the backfield. So,
like, I'm in a hypothetical world where, let's say, they got Penix and I don't know. Let's just say we have new blood in this offense. It's
I'm
high
pumped.
powered this year. We end up going 500 or whatever is closeness to that in this new weird system.
Right.
But we're putting up 30 points a game. I think next year you have defensive players wanting to come here.
Right.
This is a destination now. It's easier to fix the defense at this point.
Right.
You have something where you can show the league, like, we score points here. We just need help on the back end. People will show up, I think, anyway.
Yeah, and obviously it's not Wink, but we did keep our DB coach. I'm drawing a blank on his name at the moment.
Jerome Henderson.
Oh, it is Henderson, yeah. We've had, like, 2 years ago when we made the playoffs, we had Yannick, Isaac Adam being our starting corner. I always like Nick McLeod from Notre Dame the last couple of years. Obviously, is he our starting corner?
Fabian Moreau?
Moreau was another
we got
one.
I want to say we got that guy after preseason.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
definitely. Like, I trust our coaching staff to find the ways to make players better, and we've seen it numerous times the last 2 years. Obviously, the record last year was not as great as the first year, but we've seen enough from Daves and Shane of finding ways to plug and play, and unfortunately the depth isn't always there, or the money isn't exactly there, so they find ways to plug it. So yeah, you're right, man. Unless it was Bobby Johnson. Yes, of course, Wes. Yes, of course. The war criminal himself. So, all right. So that's where we're going to be talking about with the draft. Obviously you're not Nikki, so it's not the same of what did you have for dinner, because obviously she's the only person that will be like, oh, I had meatball hero for dinner, and she'll give me a weird look of, ill, how do you eat that? So
what you had for dinner though?
No, that's not what I had for dinner. I had enchiladas tonight. My mom made. Yeah, home run. See, she would have been like, ill, what is that? And like I would have had to spend 20 minutes to dissect what exactly an enchilada is. So
no, listen, enchiladas are great. You had fresh enchiladas. I'll tell you about my lunch today. It was half of a sandwich I bought on Saturday.
Okay,
that's been sitting in the fridge.
All right,
I feel like
my lunch
Nikki
today
would like cringe into a ball and then explode if I said that to her.
Yeah, well, my lunch was actually the same, but from Snacks' house apartment on Saturday for WrestleMania. So I'm not too far behind you with that. So yeah, I had the leftover chicken cutlet here. So that was
I had a turkey and bacon.
Okay, can't go wrong with that. So, all right, theoretically. Oh, we had gyro from late lunch with my daughter. Awesome.
There you go.
I love gyros. Yes. I had the mistake of eating one before going to Snacks' house. And I had Aja the whole WrestleMania, and I may have let out a couple of farts. And everybody's like, Jesus Christ, Dan, are you all right? I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. It was the gyro I had today for lunch.
I honestly think that's part of the WrestleMania experience.
Oh yeah, just dudes farting up with hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, they're like, Jesus Christ, man, because I never met his friends, so it was like that icebreaker. I'm like, oh God, it's gonna happen. So the question I have for you, since it's obviously different, if you're hosting a tailgate at a Giants game, or you're having your buddies over for a Super Bowl party or a Giants wash party, what are you ordering? What are you making? And I'll tell you mine after. What would be your go-to order?
All right, so I'm a Jersey dude, so my first thing always is pizza. No one shows up to a place and is like, oh man, they got pizza. No one does that.
Nikki.
Everyone is stoked to see pizza wherever they go. Like, I've never met a single person that was like, they only have pizza. What? So I would get, probably 4 different kinds of pizzas.
Okay. Now we're talking.
And I would cater toppings to my guests. I like to know my guests pretty well. But I don't want to, whatever. I want people to eat. I think that wings are kind of a necessity for football games on TV. At a tailgate, they're kind of a mess. I don't think
they're a nightmare, Adam.
Anything that requires a lot of napkins at a tailgate is a disaster, especially at MetLife with the wind. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's quite literally every Sunday I'm walking by and you just see napkins flying in every direction.
Oh yeah, it's a tradition unlike
but there's one other thing, and I think this is important: chips and dip.
Yes.
And I would make a buffalo chicken dip that I make at home. It's like the one thing that I can make.
You mentioned about buffalo chicken dip was the running joke at Snacks' party on Saturday. It was like, Dad, eat buffalo chicken dip. And I'm like, no, man, I'm going to literally shit my pants if I have buffalo dip. I'm like, I can't right now, man. Like, I'm literally just like, I'm about to die. I'm gonna have the couple of like dips. Like, awesome. I love buffalo chicken dip, but I'm like, I should have thought better of not going with a gyro for lunch that day, because I'm literally I was like bubbling up driving the 2 hours.
Yeah, he doesn't live close anymore, huh?
No, it was in his Monmouth County apartment, not Bergen. So I was just like, all right, this is fun. I'm like, oh God, all right, we're gonna make it, but I gotta watch what I eat when I'm at Snacks' house. So everybody's like, come on, Dan, eat, man. I'm like, no, man, I'm really okay. I appreciate it. I'm gonna eat. Why aren't you eating the buff dip? I'm like, I want it, man. Don't trust me. For betterment of the whole entire party, it's me stepping away from the buffalo chicken dip. But
so you screwed yourself out of a good food item.
I know. I didn't think there was going to be buffalo chicken dip. I'll be honest. I'm like, all right, Snacks said heroes, and it's going to be like the typical dips and everything. And then it was buffalo chicken dip. I was like, oh man, I'll eat it, but I had to be like cautious because I'm like, I'm not getting home until like 1:00 type of thing. So
here's the thing though. I do think that, dip or not, chips are a necessity. And the reason I say that is maybe this is just me, but I guarantee you there's other people like me. So let's say the Giants game is on at 4:00. I've invited you and a bunch of other buddies over. Mm-hmm. You're all getting there before 1, so we can watch the 1:00 games together and eat food, right?
Yeah, that's
but
standard.
Once that 4:00 game starts and we're all kind of silently nervous while we watch, I need something to pick. I don't really need the food at that point. I just need to drink something. I need to eat something.
Yeah, you're a bigger drinker than me. So yeah.
Well, okay, so here's a funny story. The 2011 Giants Super Bowl. I'm a big water drinker in general. Normally when I'm watching the game at home, I'm drunk beforehand and I'm just drinking water because I drink nervously. Like I need to do something with my hands. I can't help on the field. I can only get nervous. That Super Bowl, I was drinking all day. So by the time the Super Bowl started, I was already hammered and I was just continuing to drink beers like I drink water.
See,
so I went through like a 6-pack and a half.
That was Super Bowl 42 for me, and I have not drank at a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 42. That's how hammered I got.
What's amazing too is that I think because I had been drinking all day, I was just like immune to the feeling of drunk. You know what I mean? Like I was definitely hammered, but I was so used to feeling hammered that I was just like, I don't know, functioning, or I'm just Irish. I'm not really sure. But I won the Super Bowl pool that night. I'm pretty sure I got in a car and operated the vehicle later on. I remember getting home at like 4:45 in the morning. But
all right, I'm glad you made it safe. Do not drink and drive.
No. I don't condone that kind of activity at all.
But yeah, honestly.
But it might have happened like 10 years ago.
All right, so we're talking about wings. What would be your go-to flavor? Are you that boring? All right, just go standard, or you like to spice it up a bit and getting a different flavor?
I like to try things. So I'm the kind of person that at Buffalo Wild Wings, I've had all of them. And I like to mix it up. I'm more of a dry rub person than I think anybody else is.
I am too, actually.
Nice. All right, fist bump. I'm like the only one that orders dry rub wings places. I just don't necessarily need like 10 gallons of sauce on a wing. But I'm good with like a variety of stuff. I like spicy personally.
I will go up to like I won't go high, but I'm more of the garlic parm, honey barbecue, and then I will go hot. But anything past hot, I'm like, why are we doing this? I'm not gonna have fun. Like we used to go to Hooters and we would have wing night at Hooters, and it would be like, all right, we're gonna have a wing competition, and then we would have one group of friends that would get hot. And like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Let's why aren't we just enjoying it? We're gonna get sick anyway from eating 20 wings each. But why are you going up the amp to get hot? So I always stay around that medium to hot range, and then I'm like, all right, I'm in the mood for hot wings. I'll eat like a couple. I'm not going above and beyond. Like if I was 20, I would be dumb enough to do it, but I'm gonna have a gallon of Tums right next to me now.
Yeah, see, I kind of have an iron stomach with that stuff, but
Okay,
I will say
would you where's the highest you would go?
Well,
if we order wings tomorrow, right now, like what would be the highest level you would get?
I don't know. I mean, now I try to stay away from whatever the hottest one is. I won't do it. I'll do whatever's underneath it because I think I've like fundamentally fucked up. So sorry.
No,
I think I've fundamentally screwed up my insides. I ate a raw habanero once. Just I didn't think it would really kill me. And it was like an unbelievable experience where I just couldn't control how much spit I was making. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I was just like drooling. It was like an incredible unfun experience. And I think like ever since then, my stomach's not been like 100% with like extreme spices like that, where I was just like eating essentially a pepper. I think I can handle like places hottest, but I just don't. I don't want to put myself in an environment where I'm going to shit my pants and not be home.
See, that's the funny thing about tailgating. Like with my stomach.
Oh yeah, you have to have restraint at a tailgate, dude. It's porta johns.
Like people are like, why does Dan go into games early? I'm like, because I ate so much that I'm like, I'm gonna die if I don't like go in the stadium early. It's happening.
So wait. So are you intimately familiar with the MetLife restrooms?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
So cheek to seat. Okay, all right.
No. I do the squat, but that's where I get there early enough, so I take care of business, and they do have seat covers. But if nature calls, like before the game, like all right now.
Oh, dude, I'm not judging you.
If it's starting to come early, like before everybody comes, then obviously I'm hovering. But like, let's say gates open at 11. And my stomach's like, screw you, let's go inside. And I know where it's early enough that I will partake in that. But the second I know people are there, there's no chance in hell I'm sitting at a MetLife Stadium toilet seat. But yeah, I gauged.
Look, man, we've all been there. I've done it.
Oh, we all have. Oh yeah, dude. It's a war.
Well, I mean, as much as you can like complain about MetLife toilets and whatever, I'll take MetLife toilets over porta johns any day of the week.
Oh, any day of the week.
And it's amazing too. Like you can get. What's the earliest you've gotten to the parking lot? Because you're there early.
Pre-kids, and when I used to park at J8, I had to get there early because we got like the front row of the parking. And then last year I fully committed parking with L16, and it's all the way in the back. So I'm like, all right, I can get an extra hour of sleep / help my wife if she doesn't go to the game with my sons. And I can get there for 9 o'clock, and it's as if I got there for 8. You know what I mean? So
it's what's amazing is that even at the earliest time you've ever gotten there, I guarantee you someone had taken a dump in the porta john already.
The funniest
I don't know how people do that, but there is always a poop in there.
That's the funniest thing I can tell you. So when I would go to J8 regularly, there would be this one guy, because we park by the porta potties. My friend Steve and his family, they still there at J8. We parked by the porta potties, So we see the same guys every week come walking by. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're gonna lose. Whatever. Same old, same old. And you hear someone screaming, "Oh my god, what the fuck? This guy took a shit already? It's not even 9, it's not even 8:30. What the fuck?" And, like, this dude literally dropped the deuce before 8:30. So the parking lot hasn't even opened yet for a half hour and someone's already taken a dump. So that means someone had a rough coffee or a rough night drinking and just like unleashed the demons. But yeah.
And it's
See,
the porta john is forever, man. Like
yeah.
that doesn't flush away.
So, Chris, you're there once or twice a year, so I get the lore. But like later in the season, it's just like, all right, it's cold and we suck. And like, I know we're gonna have no problem getting to L16 for 9 o'clock. I'll leave. Like I used to have to leave my house at 7:15. Now it's like, all right, 7:30, 8 o'clock is the absolute latest. But that's the rough thing about the 1 o'clock games is I'm getting up as if I'm going to work.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's like,
I think
all
the
right,
roughest part of it, honestly, is you're doing all that, and like the coldest part of the game is the tailgate. Like once you're in the stadium, it's usually not too bad.
well, for you, I'm higher up, so
Oh, well, I was my thought process had to do a lot more with like you're just surrounded by bodies, and a lot of it's
yeah,
blocking the
that's true.
wind.
That's a good point.
Like once you're out in the open in the parking lot, like once I'm at L16, it's cold. But when I'm walking from the train to L16, that's the coldest part of my day. It's just
Yeah,
like that empty parking lot, like wind.
right. Yeah, I definitely get what
Like
you're saying.
there are definitely times I've like gotten to the parking lot in December and like they're like wind tears like frozen to the sides of my eyes because
Yeah,
it's just whipping around like crazy.
no, I'm with you on that. So yeah, I'm excited. Like it's funny. Like people don't understand how close we've all gotten with each other as a friendship of meeting everybody at our tailgates, and it's just like a second family. So it's like, yes, as much as the Giants suck, we still get to see you, we still get to see Cranky, you're grumpy, we get to see Snacks, we get to see Ant, we get to see Justin. The couple times a year when we get to see Chris, I love seeing Chris. It brightens up my like, oh, this is the week Chris comes, all right, awesome. And the funniest thing with Chris was 2 years ago, we just became friends because, oh, Chris and his wife, Virginia, are just there. Like, oh, all right, Chris, nice to meet you, man. And we ended up talking for like waiting for the parking lot to just go. And like, all right, get home safe. Oh, you're in Virginia? Oh God, good luck with that, man. That's a trek. So yeah, I love going to games just for the tailgate. Yes.
Oh, dude, me too. Also like it's like one of those things where even when
And the one
even
year the Talking Giants and Buddy comes up, it's always like,
oh
all right,
yeah.
yeah, that's
Well,
always great.
yeah, it becomes this thing where it's just like, why am I spending all this money to go to this game again? We're terrible. It's cold and we're not going to win. And it's like, well, I can't skip this week. This is like the time that Big Blue UK and Ireland is going to be
Right,
there. Or like, oh, El Jefe is going to the tailgate this time. Like, we're all buddies now. Like, it's
right.
one of the few times we get to hang out and, be miserable together or be happy together. Like, we've been to happy tailgates. We've been to frustrated tailgates. We've been to what the hell are we doing with our lives tailgates, but it's always fun.
The funniest tailgate this year was the Cowboy tailgate because we're all stupidly like excited for the season. You come in like in a jumpsuit. I'm like, all right, this is great. And I'm like, all right. And then we got to our seats and then just debacle.
I don't think I've won a game in that tailgate in that jumpsuit yet.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Oh yeah, Chris. Yeah. That was a fun. That was a fun
The Jets
game.
game. Oh, here's the thing. You know what? We can shit over the Jets game as the why we are here thing, but it was Halloween. I love Halloween football. I think that is like the great. To me, Halloween football is the closest thing that the NFL gets to WrestleMania.
Right.
Do you not like? I mean, like it is the silliest crowd
Oh
that you
yeah,
will be
people
in.
dressed up. I think we got robbed of that this year because the game was in a legit monsoon.
Yo, I feel like every game I went to this year was raining.
And that was unfortunately the game my wife went, and that was her one game of the year. And it was like, all right, Tyrod's got hurt, Tommy DeVito's in, and she's like, I've had enough. I'm like, I get it. Like, because it was funny, because we're like driving on the GW, we're like, this game's gonna suck. We both suck. But we could find a way to just win this game. We had a tough loss last week against Buffalo. And then the floodgates just open as we got into the parking lot and just drenched. And I see Justin all angry. I see Chris and just a complete downpour. I'm like, this is going to be a rough game. Yeah, Chris.
I was at like 7 rain games this past year.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, that was a good game. Unfortunately, I already sold my tickets for that game, so I did not go to that game.
I got sick. I got sick at the end of the year, so I didn't even bother going to any of the ones at the end. That's the other thing that stinks too, is like if it's October and I'm sick, I'm going, no question. When it's January and I'm sick, I really don't want to. You know what I mean? It's just I'm not doing it.
I think it's levels to it. If we are 10-6 and we're going to make the playoffs and we're about to make the playoffs and we have a good game against Dallas, I will suck it up. But if we're like what we've been the last couple of years, no.
Oh, I mean, I've definitely gone with like a fever and like snot stuck to my face before. Yeah. There were times when it was worth it.
Right.
But if you're out, I mean, by January, you pretty much know. You're either out or you're in the hunt, right?
Yeah,
and if we were in the hunt, then maybe. Like that's
I got rid of all my I got rid of all my tickets for December and January before like October last year. That's how bad we were.
Oh dang! David Tyree went to the tailgate, huh?
I missed that one.
Damn, yeah, really.
Told me about that one. We missed that.
I also Wes is correct. Wes and I missed each other every single game this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Wes. Yep.
I don't even know how that's possible. Like, it's not like I didn't go to games. Like, we just missed each other.
Yeah, it was also the games that he came late to, with you being like the games that you actually came early to, he was late to, and vice versa. So, and or you came late and it's like, all right, I want to go inside for the giveaway and do other fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it'd be like, oh okay, well, he's like, too bad I didn't see Grump. Tell him I said hi, and then vice versa would be funniest thing. So, all right, Grump. Tell us where we can find you. Every fun stuff. Thank you for coming on. By the way, thank you for everybody that came to check us out. Be sure to like and subscribe to the TNL_NYG YouTube. Follow us on all the socials. Obviously, you can find me at DBHan on Twitter. Grump, where can we find you? Without telling big news, what do you think you're going to be doing draft night?
I don't actually know anything, so I'm not being coy or clever or anything like that. I'm usually the last couple of years I've been invited to the John Bay offices to do the Talking Giants draft night. I haven't gotten a text. I'm assuming that I'm going to. I don't know, but that's usually where I'm at. If not, I will be just watching at home like everybody else and probably live tweeting everything. So Twitter, I'm at football_grump. YouTube channel for my podcast is Just Giants. That's on YouTube, and it's just like audio on SoundCloud and whatever. And I have my own channel where I cover a lot of draft stuff and a lot of UFL stuff. Whoa, DC Defenders, baby. How about that? Yeah, no. I honestly think that watching the UFL is a lot like scouring for day 3 picks. It's not really any different. You're looking at the same kind of stuff, except they're even cheaper because they don't cost a draft pick. They're just UDFA or UFA contracts. So that's one of the major reasons why I watch it. Also, I like football, so I'm watching football. But yeah, the Football Grump YouTube channel is where I cover UFL stuff as well as draft stuff. So you can find me at all of those places. I will be very, very thankful if you do.
No, be sure to check him out. I love Just Giants. I always text him whenever I get to listen to the episode. I love what him and Cranky Fan are doing. So be sure to check them out. Thank you for filling in for Nikki tonight. As always, see you guys next week. Be good. Go Giants.